देखो, दिस इज अ गुड प्लेस. मैंने ज्यादा अंदर नहीं गया हूँ बर्लिंगटन, बट मेरा पॉइंट ये है.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to the session of Quran for Ramadan. These sessions, as you all know, are being conducted so that we can make the best use of this holy month. And in particular, we are reading passages from the Quran that relate to our personality development. And they urge us to adopt certain virtues and give up certain vices. This month, as you all know, is a month of meditation. It's a month of soul searching. It's a month in which we need to reflect how we can improve ourselves as human beings. So the passages that have been selected each day, they relate to some aspect of our personality development. So for today, we have selected a certain passage from Surah Zariyat, which is the 51st surah of the Quran. And as we will see that this again is a passage in which we will be discussing about some of the aspects of human personality and how we can become better and more closely related to God. So the words are Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa uyun. آخذين ما آتاهم ربهم إنهم كانوا قبل ذلك محسنين كانوا قليلا من الليل ما يهجعون وبالأسحار هم يستغفرون وفي أموالهم حق للسائل والمحروم. However, for the righteous on that day will be However, the righteous on that day will be among orchards and springs, receiving what has been bestowed on them by their Lord. Before this, they were thorough in their deeds. They would sleep very little at night, and in its final hours would seek forgiveness from their Lord. And in their wealth was a share for those who ask and for the deprived. So now you can see, dear viewers, that this is a passage, or this set of verses actually describes what people who would spend their lives in virtue and doing righteous deeds, how they will be rewarded in the hereafter. What gifts and what blessings they will receive in the hereafter. So the first thing which is mentioned, of course, and that is also in consonance with the concept of paradise, which the first addressees of the Quran had, which were the Arabs. So for them to be living in orchards and springs, on mountains and on countryside was like a ultimate form of bliss, and that is how the Quran has also described paradise. So remember, the description of paradise that you get is in conformity with the taste of the Arabs, and of course, it's not confined to that taste. For the rest of the world and for for later generations, the Quran has used this comprehensive as well as compact phrase in which it says, "Walakum fiha ma tashtahi anfusukum," which means that whatever you desire, you will get there. And of course, it's quite mind-boggling to even imagine that everything that comes to our mind would be fulfilled. So it starts off, as I said, with the notion what the Arabs had for themselves as the best comfort and blessing as far as a blissful life is concerned. So, keeping in view their taste, it is said, "Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa uyun." The righteous on that day will be among orchards and springs. آخذين ما آتاهم ربهم إنهم كانوا قبل ذلك محسنين, receiving what has been bestowed on them by their Lord. Before this, they were thorough in their deeds. So the thing which is mentioned here is that they are receiving from their Lord whatever they wanted, and of course, whatever they desired. This is something that they'll keep on getting. And again, what the reason for which this reward is going to be bestowed upon them is also something that has been clearly mentioned, and that is that they were qabla zalika muhsinin, they were righteous in the previous world. They were individuals who were always doing things to the best of their ability, and at the same time, they were individuals who would not just stop at doing things which are at par. They would take lead, and they would become individuals who would be always doing and trying to go that extra mile as far as their own life is concerned, as far as their own contribution is concerned. They will not stop at their own responsibilities by just fulfilling the responsibilities. They will go overboard. So this is something, viewers, that we have to really keep in mind, that it's easy, of course, and it's something that is in our reach that we do what we are required to do. But in fact, what should be done here is that qabla zalika muhsinin, that we have to be individuals who do each day, each deed to its perfection. So just to sort of discharge your responsibility is not enough, but to discharge it in a very honorable way, in a very befitting way. So that is what the Quran is talking and relating to us, that if they are charitable, then it's not just that they are charitable in the ordinary sense, they are very graciously charitable. Similarly, if they are in any way looking after other people and they are caring for them, that's not something that they are doing for the sake of it. They are doing it in a very thorough way, in a very, very gracious way. And the people for whom they are showing this charity, they also feel that they are being looked after in a way that, of course, no one else can. So yes, this is something of a requirement, dear viewers, that we do everything in the best possible way, in the best possible uh, format that we have. And the foremost, of course, since today and these days, we are going through the month of Ramadan. So therefore, a lot of things that we do should be done in the best possible way. Fasting, of course, is not something that is merely desisting from carnal desires and from eating and drinking. It's much more than that. And it's abstaining from things that are unbefitting, that should not be in any way part of our lives. It's something of a life norm that we are setting here. It's patience that we are learning, selflessness that we are learning. At the same time, it's a month of self accountability. It's a month in which we should always try as much as we can to see where we are going wrong and what needs to be done in order to become better individuals. So, viewers, again, this is a life, or this is a time which is the time in which we must always try as much as we can to think that, well, now that we have been given this opportunity as best as we can, we should become individuals for the rest of those 11 months who use and practice whatever we have been up to in this month. So if we have attached ourselves to the Quran, it should not be something that should be confined to this month only. We should continue this practice for the rest of the 11 months as well. Similarly, if we have started to help people in this month, should not be something that should be confined here. It should be something that should continue. So, in short, whatever we do in this month is like a launching pad. It's like something from which we should take off and continue with these good deeds and these righteous deeds for the rest of the 11 months. This month should not be a end in itself, as is the case in numerous circumstances. The real thing is that we must always try our best to continue and think that this is an opportunity that we have been given to train and instruct ourselves so that we can continue with this in the same vein in the rest of the 11 months. The rest of the 11 months should be, as I said, the manifestation of this exercise and workshop that we are going through these days, and we are almost, or in fact, halfway through it already. The next thing which is mentioned here as an attribute to the believers is Kanu qalila min al-layli ma yahja'un. This, of course, refers to the tahajjud prayer. They are ones who get up at night. And viewers, this is amongst supplementary prayers, amongst the optional prayers. The tahajjud prayer is the prayer about which we can say that it is something which is favored and honored by the Almighty the most. So, amongst all supplementary prayers, amongst all optional prayers, the tahajjud prayer is the prayer it stands at the pinnacle of all these prayers, because it is this prayer for which we have to make an effort to get up at night. Yes, in these days of Ramadan, it's quite easy because we do get up for Sehri, and we have the time to offer the tahajjud prayer. And yes, this is also an opportunity that whenever we fast, then since we have to get up for our suhoor, then let us make it a point to offer the tahajjud prayer at its original time, which is the tahajjud time. But yes, normal circumstances, in normal days, we do offer the witr prayer, which is the tahajjud prayer with Isha. And that is something that is like a second best option when you offer this prayer with the Isha prayer. But not only in the month of Ramadan, if during the next 11 months also we are able to time ourselves, maybe if not every day, at least once a week, maybe, or whenever there is a holiday the next day, so that we can get up early and maybe pray in a way that we can pray the tahajjud prayer adjacent to the Fajr prayer, because the timing of the two prayers are absolutely adjacent. So we can get up 15 minutes before the Fajr time, maybe offer the witr at that time, and then do our Fajr prayer. So again, this is something which is it's not easy. It's pretty tough, but let us all know that God rewards people who do these things in tough circumstances, and people who are able to notch up this very coveted deed. For them, there is a lot of reward. And also, we know that the Almighty has said that the Tahajjud prayer is the prayer in which He is the most attentive to our du'as, to our supplications, and hence this is something that we should do it as much as possible. كانوا قليلا من الليل ما يهجعون وبالأسحار هم يستغفرون. Both these verses, of course, they are in tandem. They can be read as one. That when they get up for the Tahajjud prayer, of course, they express their forgiveness before the Almighty. They would like to uh, ask for any forgiveness regarding the sins or regarding the blemishes that might have been perpetrated by them. And we as human beings, we all know that there are things that we do all day that we are not very proud of. And this is a time when we go to bed. It's a time of accountability. It's a time to take a look at how we spent our day. And when we get up for the Tahajjud prayer, if God gives us this opportunity, then yes, this is the time to seek God's forgiveness. And at the same time, express our desires, express our wishes, express our gratitude to God. And there are so many things that we can do at that time. And I do say this often, that if someone wakes up at the tahajjud time and is not able to get out of bed, then at least while remaining in bed, he or she can still make dua at that time, because it's a blessed time. It's a time about which we know that a lot of effort has to be put in if you have to get up. So if you're not able to leave your bed and do wuzu and offer the prayer, even then, a second best option is to just lie down in your bed and just talk to God in that particular situation. The next and the last thing which is mentioned regarding believers is that وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ, and in their wealth was a share for those who ask and for the deprived. So one of the most important things that as human beings we are required to do is to always connect to people who are underprivileged, who are less fortunate. And for this, the institution of zakat, as we all know, has been made compulsory and incumbent upon every believer. So yes, this is one way in which we can connect to people. And remember, connecting people through what we owe to them is something which is the minimum that we can do for them. But over and above this, we know that there is a whole system that has been, actually prescribed, and that is that as much as we can, we should be charitable towards individuals. We should be generous. We should always be thinking that besides our own selves, there are people who are in need. And remember, it's not the amount which counts as much as our intention. So we must not shy away, even if we have a small amount to share. The smallest of amounts can be the greatest for our reward because at that time, that is the only thing that we can afford. So never shy away, dear viewers, if you have a small amount to spare, because you see, that drop in an ocean might become the ocean itself one day in the form of a reward. Also important in this regard is that we must not try to boast and brag about any charity that we have done. Also, not express our favor on people for whom we have been charitable, because this is not something becoming. And also, one of the things that we must always worry about is that, as they say, charity begins at home. We must always look towards people who are closest to us, maybe our relatives, maybe our friends, maybe our neighbors. So they have a greater right on us too, so that we can become more generous and more charitable to them. And also, people who are very, very, I would say, they are extremely honorable. They have a lot of self-esteem. They'll not come to you to ask for their needs. They would often, or they would rather sleep empty stomach than to come and beg. So about such people, we have to be even more careful. Remember, there are more people in this world who would not come. Uh, they have the self-esteem, they have the self-honor. So for us is the responsibility to reach out to them, to reach out. And the Quran has said that you might not be able to recognize them if you don't look deeply. But if you look deeply, you'll find that although they are well set, they might appear well set, but in fact, they are not well set. And it's just a question of looking deeper. So yes, this is something that we always need to do, that look around for people. And remember, charity is not just through money. It's also through your own efforts, it's by giving time. And I think the minimum or the least amount of charity that we can do at least is to smile at people, is to greet them in a friendly way, to have a very friendly disposition, a countenance that is welcoming, hospitable. So this also is charity. Remember, the good attitude that we adopt towards people also counts as charity. So with this, we come to an end to today's session regarding the points that we have discussed. We now opportunity to ask questions. So I see a raised hand. Do I see a raised hand?
Samina Ahmed, you may ask your question.
Yes, sorry. I'm dwelling on this one again, but when you go for Tarawih and the Maulvi Saab has already done with the Alham Sharif, do you just continue with him with the rest of the tilawat and not say Alham Sharif in that rakat?
That's correct. I mean, you will join and you will just listen to him, and wherever he is, that is the time. I mean, that you're responsible for continuing after that. Whatever he said before that, you're not responsible for that. And either if you've missed a rakat, of course, you'll make it up. Otherwise, if you have joined right at the end of the rakat, which is the ruku, if you have joined the ruku of that rakat, then it is considered that you have joined that rakat. So if that is the case, then your rakat will be counted as we have been told. And of course, from the next rakat, you'll be able to hear the whole Surah Fatiha and the rest. So that is something that you should continue later. But if you have missed a rakat, then that is something that you need to make up.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Raza Sadat, you may unmute your mic and ask your question now.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab.
Welcome.
Just need to ask if giving zakat to anyone, do we have to mention that this money is from zakat?
We don't have to mention that. Why do we? I mean, in fact, this is something that that should not be mentioned because at times people they take it in a something which is against their own self-esteem and they might not accept it. So we have no obligation to disclose this to them.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Could you please clarify the statement about Gog and Magog being from the yellow race and that Muslims have lost the opportunity to succeed? Is this the idea found in the Quran? Understanding is that Gog and Magog are not described as a specific race and that they might not even be human. Also, they are Muslims in Asia. Could you explain what is the correct Islamic understanding?
So you see, Gog and Magog are mentioned in Surah Anbiya as the sign of the day of judgment. So we have been told that, first of all, let me also clarify that Gog and Magog, they are the grandsons of the third son of Noah. So the third son of Noah is Japheth, and Japheth's grandsons are Gog and Magog. And from their names, the name of their tribe was actually kept after their name. So Gog and Magog are not only the names of two people, but they are also the names of two tribes because they are named after their progenitors. So they about them it is said that near the end of the world, when the world will be ending, the Quran says that these Gog and Magog people who will be inhabiting the outskirts of this world, it's like the higher parts of this world, the upper parts of this world, they will launch an onslaught towards the inner side and try to conquer every bit of land. So this is as far as the Quran has said. The last book of the Bible, which is called the Book of Revelations, and we know that its author is John the Divine, who was one of the students of Jesus. So he is reported to have given more details, and until now, the details that he has given, because those details relate from the from a lot of things from the past, they have come true. So what details that he has said given is that near the when Gog and Magog would try to conquer the world, and of course they will launch an onslaught. So they will try to finally also come to the land of Hijaz, which is Makkah and Medina, but they will not be able to enter it, and a fire from heaven will come and consume them. And this would be the time when the earthquake will begin for the day of judgment. So this second part, as I said, is described in the book of Revelations, which is the last book of the Bible. The fact that Gog and Magog are a sign of the day of judgment, that's also, as I said, initially described in the Quran, but it just confines itself to the fact that they will launch an onslaught. The details of that onslaught are mentioned in the Bible.
Thank you, Dr. Shehzad. Amal, you may unmute your mic and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I had a question. I was wondering that, referring to bragging, when you were speaking of that, for example, I got married quite young, so I had my children young, and most of my friends got married later and they had their children later. So when they ask me questions about, what are your children doing? What are they, for example, for charity or in Ramadan or whatever, and if I tell them, obviously, I mean, I do take pride. I mean, pride maybe is not the right word, but I do feel happy telling them, okay, this is what my children are doing. This is how
Right.
they take out sadaqah. This is how they are, conducting themselves. And does that constitute bragging, or is it just giving information to someone whose children are younger and they're wanting to,
Right.
help their children?
So remember, bragging or boasting relates to your intention. If your purpose is to inform other people so that they can get motivated or inspired, or you're just sharing a piece of information, thinking that you're a proud mother, that does not constitute bragging at all. Remember, bragging is intentional. You always would like to overawe the other person by telling that person what good deeds you have done. So that's an entirely different scenario. This cannot apply to what you have just said.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you have any more questions, please raise your hands or type them in the chat so I can read them. We still have some time. Okay, I think I have a question. In our society, Pakistan, we are witnessing some deeply concerning social taboo trends. Recently observed a troubling situation in certain downtown areas where young, modern, and educated girls were openly waiting in public spaces to engage with men or young boys for inappropriate activities. As a citizen of the society, what we can do to stop these things except praying for them? Please comment.
Well, actually, it all depends on the situation and the position that you are in. If this is being perpetrated in a very blatant and open way, I mean, of course, one of the things that you can always do is to report the matter to the authorities. But do remember that this might also ruin a boy or a girl's reputation, and at the same time, any opportunity for him or her to mend their ways. Maybe, I mean, you can just ignore them, or maybe if you would like to do something more, I do get this idea that just give them a small letter, maybe enwrapped in a book like the Quran, so that it's just a question of trying to wake up their conscience. At times, people they do realize that they're doing something wrong. Sometimes it is being done for thrill. Sometimes it is being done for financial reasons. But whatever the reasons are, of course, this cannot be justified. So I think anything that you can do to just caution and awaken their good person. Every person has some good person inside of him or her, and you just need to wake that person up. So maybe just gifting a Quran or something, maybe writing a small letter and handing over that letter to that person, so that you can just knock at the door of their soul. That is what comes to my mind. But of course, it's a matter of great concern. I agree with you.
Thank you, Dr. Shazad. There's another question. Is use of nebulizer allowed in fasting?
Uh, I think so. It should be allowed because when you nebulizing yourself, you're inhaling, just as inhalers are mostly allowed. So I think a nebulizer should be no different.
Thank you. Samina Naeem, you may ask your question.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Um, Actually, many people, when they offer tahajjud and they offer nawafil at that time, they say that these nawafil are for someone, like two nafil for my father and mother, or I'm offering these two nawafil for my brothers and sisters. So, is that appropriate? Can one do that?
Well, we have been explicitly told by the Quran that the good deeds that we do are not transferable. So whatever good deed you'd be doing is something that would be for your own self. But having said that, if you're doing something in any good deed that you do regarding which your parents had groomed you and mentored you, so every time you do that good deed, they are going to be rewarded as well. So you don't need to read the Quran for them, and you should read the Quran for your own self and for your own guidance. But what you can do is that whatever good deeds that they taught you, whenever you practice those deeds, so they are going to get a reward as well because they were instrumental in teaching you.
Thank you, Dr. Shazad.
Thank you.
Farina Imamet, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hi, so my question is like related to a prior question that was asked. There was a terminology used where it said like where young, modern, and educated girls were openly waiting for young boys and something about inappropriate activities. My question is like where does Islam's like my first question is in terms of where does Islam stand on how we're judging both genders essentially in the context of the religion. And with the wording of this question, I felt like it was like women were being shown in a bad light. And I really wanted to know how we should go about treating men and women and how they conduct themselves publicly in terms of our religion.
Well, I think the person who asked this question maybe personally witnessed this. It seems from the question that he or she actually saw girls and boys openly soliciting themselves for each other, if I understood correctly. And this is something that is happening in our society. So I think if this is happening, then It's a cause of great alarm as well. And at the same time, we must always remember that what we sow, that we reap. So we have, as parents, we must realize that if this is a situation, then to some extent, we are also responsible for this situation. And at the same time, we must also realize that things might not be the same as they seem. So maybe it's not just what we think that they are doing, or they are doing some escort service or something like that. May well be that maybe they are meeting with each other uh, on a different sense, on a different plane. But nonetheless, I would say that if the norms of decency are observed between boys and girls and between men and women, that is something that we have to actually start with, and must always keep in mind that these norms of decency begin with restraining of your eyes. So, by not allowing your eyes to take undue liberty, which is the starting point, if you don't do so, that can lead us astray. So, the Islamic directives in this regard is that you have to restrain your eyes, you have to wear some proper clothes and a proper dress, and this goes both for both men and women. And that is what the Quran has said, that they should restrain their eyes and they should guard their eyes from taking undue liberty, and they should not wear a dress that shows off their contours of the body. So that is what we have been told, and that is what is mentioned in the Quran. And the rest, of course, is education, that as parents, as a society, that we need to do. And if something is like this is happening in our society, then instead of maybe getting angry, it's a time for soul searching. It's a time in which we need to understand that the society has reached this stage because we as elders maybe have not done enough. So it's time again for some stock taking. And as I said, if you are able to touch the heart of such people in some way or the other, that is the best way to maybe make a person realize that he or she should revisit the attitude that he or she has adopted.
Thank you. Lubna, you may unmute your mic and ask your question now.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा सवाल सूरह मरियम के बारे में है, और इसके अंदर जो आयत 71 या 71 है, तर्जुमा मैं आपको पढ़ी हूँ, मुझे काइंडली बता दीजिए। तुम में कोई ऐसा नहीं है जो जहन्नम पर वारिद ना हो, ये तो एक तयशुदा बात है जिसे पूरा करना तेरे रब का जिम्मा है। फिर हम उन लोगों को बचा लेंगे जो मुत्तकी थे, और जालिमों को उसी में गिरा हुआ छोड़ देंगे। तो ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा, इसका मतलब है कि क्या हर शख्स जहन्नम में? जी प्लीज
ऐसा
काइंडली
नहीं है।
समझ।
ये आप पीछे से जब पढ़ेंगी ना, तो वह इम मिनकुम इल्ला वारिदुहा अल्फाज आते हैं। ये बुनियादी तौर पे कुरैश को, यानी वो लोग के जो कट्टर लोग थे जिन्होंने इनकार किया हुआ था, उनके बारे में ये कहा गया है। असल में ये तुम का जो सीगा होता है ना, इससे बाज़ दफ़ा लगता है कि हम सब मुराद हैं। कुरान मजीद में ये बहुत अहम है कि आप ये देखें कि वो आयत किसको मुखातिब कर रही है। तो वहाँ मुखातिब सारी दुनिया नहीं है, वहाँ पे वो महदूद लोग हैं जिनका पिछली आयतों में जिक्र आ चुका है, जिन्होंने बहुत सारी ज़्यादतियाँ की हुई हैं, जिन्होंने पैगम्बर का इनकार किया हुआ है। तो ये उनसे मुतल्लिक है।
Thank you. There's another question if you want to take.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, Amal, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Sir, actually, I wanted to ask, so some years back, I'd seen this young child, 7, 8 years old. I was in the car, and she was in the car. She was sitting in front with the driver, and the driver had his hand on her thigh because her uniform, had gone up, and I started freaking out. And I knew the child and the mother, so I called the mother and I told her, because I was having a bit of a panic attack when I saw this, and the mother was extremely abusive to me and was extremely nasty. So I just left it at that, and I said, okay, I'm so sorry I said anything. But it's disturbed me for many years that you see something like this, even if, okay, but I can't see any reason why a driver would put his hand on a child's thigh. So what do we do? What do you say that we should do when you see this? You shouldn't speak up, or you should? I've been very disturbed for some years now.
Yeah, I think you did the right thing by calling up the mother if you knew the mother. And it was unfortunate that the mother did not realize what was happening. And of course, I do hope and pray that something bad would not have happened at that time or later. So, I mean, of course, when we see such things and we notice them, and especially regarding people whom we know, it's an obligation that we owe to them, that we call them up or maybe inform them this is what is happening to their child. And this is as far as we can go. If the parents don't realize, or they take an offense to it, what else can we do? Because you see, we just cannot cross our limits. Our responsibility was to communicate to the parents, and I think that you did in a very nice way. And if they did not realize or they did not properly respond, with a heavy heart, of course, because something even evil could have happened later on, and we do hope that it did not happen. So that is as far as we can go, unfortunately.
So this doesn't constitute interference. If you see something and you speak up,
No, no,
because that
certainly not.
child is a
Because,
child.
because you see, in normal circumstances, the parents would have taken heed. You did the right thing. It's not interference at all. It's something that, because the child was sitting on the front seat, maybe the mother was not there or she was sitting in the back seat, and she would not have noticed. So it was a spontaneous, on the spot right thing to do. And you did the right thing. But I don't know what happened and why did she not respond in the right way?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shehzad. I think these are all the questions that we have for today, and also the time is almost over. I would really like to appreciate all the participants who bring up questions that are not really brought up in conversations, especially when we're talking about Quran and Islam. So please keep up with all these questions and see you all tomorrow. Allah Hafiz.